Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about Tamires Vidal versus Montserrat Rendon. Vidal is 7-1 as a pro, 25 years old, and she's giving up 2 inches of height and no inches of reach to 5-0 Montserrat Rendon, who is 34 years old and making her UFC debut here at 34 years old. Whatever. It's never too late, I guess. Although at some point it's going to be. But Vidal, she's 25. She's 7-1 as a pro. Her one loss comes by submission, and it's to Carol Hossa, who got her out of there with an arm triangle choke in round 3. Carol Hossa's in the UFC. She had more experience and she's obviously blossomed into an excellent fighter, and Vidal was very young at the time. That fight makes a lot of sense on paper. My point is, it's forgivable. She has 7 wins. 1 by knockout, 2 by submission, 3 by decision, and 1 by disqualification, which I'll get to in a second. Her 1 knockout comes in her 1 UFC fight. That's pretty cool when you see a fighter turn a corner like that, and she knocked Ramona Pasquale out with a flying knee to the body. Couldn't think of a better way to make a debut, and she really surprised me there. She's got 2 submissions, as I said. One of them's a heel hook in the LFA over this girl, Quayla, and 3 decisions. One of them being over Martina Jandrova, who is in the PFL, and, she's certainly got a name. It was a close fight. Vidal was taken down early, tossed really, but she used underhooks, got up, and then ended up taking Jandrova down and secured the mount a few times and racked up some nice points. And then I thought she slowed down a little in the end, but either way, she won the fight. And that's a win. That's probably her best win, to be honest. Although it remains to be seen what Ramona's going to do. But her 1 DQ win is over Eileen Perez, and that was a fight that looked like she was going to lose. Eileen Perez, who looked really good in the UFC a month ago or so against Ashley Evans-Smith, she looked pretty good in that fight as well. She was all over Tamires Vidal. She was striking her way into the clinch, really all over her. She was taking her down from the clinch pretty easily, just locking up an overhook and ripping it to the mat. And when Tamires Vidal was getting up, she was still smothering her all over her. And then she got a little overzealous and landed a low blow, an illegal knee. And the fight was stopped and then overturned, and it's a victory for Vidal. But still, she showed some vulnerability there, being crowded and smothered by Eileen Perez, not to mention tossed around a little bit. Montserrat Rendon, she's 5-0 as a pro, 5 decisions, not 1 finish. She's a comfortable fighter. She's a grappler first and foremost, but she's comfortable on the feet. Seen her fight some of her better fighters. She's only 5-0, but she's fought some decent competition for just 5 fights, and the majority of those fights were contested on the feet. And she looked pretty comfortable, to say the least, even though you could argue she lost some of them. She fought Brittany Cloudy, who is, again, much like some other fighters. She's good, just not too many people know of her. She's not UFC level, but she's close. And the fight was pretty close. She allowed Brittany to stalk her, but she showed she was comfortable fighting off her back foot, and she was landing some good counter hooks. This girl's not a pure grappler. And she ended up getting a close decision there, or a decision. She beat Claudia Zamora as well, another girl who doesn't have the biggest name, but she's a good enough fighter. And that was one where she was doing the stalking early on. It was all hands. She got a big knockdown in round 1. But overall, it became a close fight. And she allowed Claudia to dictate the footwork after that. And she allowed herself to be cornered and teed off on against the cage a few times. Wasn't such a good look. She was also taken down in round 3, had her back taken, but she got up in the end and made it close, and she ended up getting a tight decision victory. And I'm saying this like she doesn't deserve these wins, but I say it really, like, it impresses me that she's had these fights and she's won these fights in the earliest portion of her career. And again, these are girls that don't have the biggest names, but they're not bad fighters at all. And Rendon forced a fight where I think she's out of her element, out of her wheelhouse, which is on the ground, and she didn't look bad at all, on the front foot or the back foot, but still, she's not the best striker. She's big and strong, and powerful enough for a woman her size or any woman or whatever. And she's got a good work rate, but she's slow and potting. And again, on the back foot, despite being comfortable throwing counter hooks, she can allow herself to be cornered. And, there's only so many ways you can go, and she can be teed off on. So she's not the best striker overall, but she's comfortable enough there. And in this fight, look, I'm definitely betting on Montserrat Rendon. She's 34 years old. She's in her prime. She's still learning and whatever. I know she's only 5-0, but she's making shit happen now. I mean, she's 34. She doesn't have 10 more years of fighting, or maybe she does. What the fuck do I know? But just getting into the UFC at 34 doesn't usually happen. She's got to make shit happen now, and she's shown a lot of good traits anyway, at the very least cardio and chin and whatever else, and she's got a well-rounded skill set, it would appear to me, where I think it's worth taking a shot against Vidal, who I don't trust so much. She's 7-1, could easily be 6-2, and she's a girl that I think will be quicker than Montserrat Rendon, because Montserrat Rendon can be a little slow and potting, but Rendon is a big, strong, physical girl. Where Vidal is quicker and a little shorter and, thicker, and she could win the physicality battle on the inside. Montserrat Rendon could take that away from her. She's really strong, big, and solid, and I think, she's worth taking a stab on. Taking a stab on at plus 200. Yeah, I don't mind. I think Vidal, I haven't seen her lose enough to trust how she would lose, and that one legit loss to Carol Hossa, I consider that so forgivable, it's like it never even happened. But I think Montserrat Rendon, by decision or things going away, either in striking or on the ground, it's worth a bet at this point, just because she's a 34-year-old who seems pretty well-rounded, and she's fighting an exuberant 25-year-old who seems more vulnerable than even her record would suggest. So I'm going with Montserrat Rendon. I'm taking Vidal to win. I guess she's my pick to win, but I'm betting on Montserrat Rendon. It's not the biggest bet, but yeah, it's something. I think it's just when you don't know that much about either one of these girls, there's a lot of room for surprise, and I'm betting on the surprise. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.